Okay, had to happen eventually. Some stuff finally came up that I can talk about Star Trek for a change instead of that. Right, yeah. But let's something. Neutral Zone Studios. All the sets are now in Sandusky, and now that the Spirit store is finally hopefully gone away by now, it's usually a few days after Halloween they fold up, so now they start setting up. But now, of course, they need to they still need support and getting this stuff all put back together again. But I put a tweet out there for the thing, but yeah, I'll dig up the link and put a description for the Indiegogo they got going. But various perks, for various levels. Get from a T-shirt to a dedication plaque, or walk-on role, or speaking role. Although, for the love of God, before you sign up for a speaking role, can you act? Okay, it's not as easy as it looks, folks. You want to be able to at least deliver a line convincingly. It's like, yes, Captain, here's your report. That doesn't work. Okay, but going on to other things here. Let's see. Here's about time I started. Simon Pegg is finally talking some sense again. It's a Rachel Carey thing, so it's gonna be a little bit of Rob thing. But here we go. Okay, so the last we saw of the Kelvin timeline, Star Trek. I'm Dr. Living. Last time we saw the Kelvin timeline Star Trek crew was the 2016 Star Trek Beyond film, which flopped badly. The movie didn't make as big of a splash at the box office as predecessors, because it bombed badly. But that hadn't stopped Paramount from dabbling in the idea for a fourth movie because they're addicted to the box office. Whether or not that will actually happen remains to be seen, as far as too many obstacles have been in the way of a positive move forward. And while all the cast of these films are interested in returning, Simon Pegg, who played Scotty, brings up a painful subject that would have to be addressed. In an interview with Katie Sackhoff on the Sackhoff Show, I would love to talk to her. Okay, it would be fun. I don't know if it'd be anything useful, but it'd be fun. Okay, Pegg did say he would love another opportunity to come back, but he added, obviously it's been forever tainted because we lost Anton, and that was a really hard thing for everyone involved, and for the real world, let alone anything else. That would have to be an explanation for Ensign Chekhov's disappearance if Star Trek 4 had actually been made. Yep. Little reminder here, Chekhov wasn't even in the first season, and he wasn't in all of the second season, okay? And it's a recasting anyway. I think you could put a toupee on Walter Koenig, put him back in there, it'd be the same difference, all right? Yeah. But it's like this name. This is the core stuff. Look at the damn IMDb, okay? Eddie Paskey was in more episodes than George Takei. And also, it's not like this is the only work the other guys got during Star Trek, which kind of makes the typecasting really. Like, Jimmy Doohan did a Toyota commercial while the show was going. He did work on other shows. When Scotty wasn't there, Jimmy would get work elsewhere. Same way when Nichelle Nichols and George Takei and him. None of them were exclusive to Star Trek during Star Trek. So come on. Let's get out of this little myopic, this must be, no. Okay, J.J. Abrams told the Toronto Sun in 2016 that the part would not be recast as he thought Anton deserved better. Chekhov deserved better, frankly. Not slight on Anton, but it's like, you made Chekhov the butt of some very bad jokes. That was never the case back in the day. Even the computers making fun of his accent, that never happened. Okay, but Abrams wouldn't elaborate on how Ensign Chekhov would be written out of the movie. Britting Erics, how about that? Okay, that's how the animated series did it. And there was no mention. Whoa, too bad Chekhov's not here. But tell you what, you three-arm weirdo, you tell me what's going on. No, Eric's just there. People rotate all the time. There's 400 people on that ship. And while there are ways to write off a character, it's much more difficult when the actor behind the character has actually passed away. No, it's not. He's gone. You have no choice. Okay. The sets would be stark reminders of who was no longer there and might even make it more difficult for the actors to proceed. Back in 2017, Carl Urban, Dr. McCoy, said, Screen Crush, that if they didn't get a chance to make another Star Trek movie, then I'm really happy to have ended on such a good note. massive flop at the box office. Before adding, and we're still grieving over the fact that it was the last time we got to shoot with Anton. We're all like a family. It won't be the same without him. Been 8 years since Star Trek Beyond, and we're likely looking at another 2-3 years if Star Trek 4 is made. That still won't make it any easier for the cast without Anton Yelchin. Okay. Now again, no slight on Anton and the other cast members for being that attached to him, but Chekhov was never a key, and Walter would be the first one to join in on that. Chekhov was never a key character, and like the closest you got was when and one time the story actually centered on him was The Way to Eden. And that is actually one case where probably Freiberger had the right idea. No, Kirk should not be the one to get hooked up with this kid from the McCoy at the time. Irina Gallion was originally going to be Joanna McCoy. Dr. McCoy's estranged daughter, who was going to Christian school but fell in with the hippies, which was a very, very timely thing. How parents deal with these kids who go weird. And the original idea that Dorothy had put up in the story was it was going that Kirk was going to fall for her, and that conflict on the thing. I think that is one case of where that's where Fred, I think, had the right idea. No, it shouldn't be Kirk. I do disagree that they didn't make it because, well, they're the same age. No, they're not. McCoy is clearly because DeForest Kelly is about 10 years older than Bill Shatner. Okay, DeForest Kelly is clearly older than Jim Kirk. That was boneheaded right there. No, you should have stuck with that, and it would have been his daughter, and you still would have had McCoy going, locking horns with Chekhov. That would have been real dynamic here because you had the much younger character. So I've been intimidated by the chief surgeon. So the son was pointing out, that even Walter went away back when. Walter Kennedy was not the youngest cast member. He's the same age as George Takei. He was playing about 8 years younger than he was, but because he had that Davy Jones babyface look about him. But no, I think what's really tainting Star Trek 4 is the fact that they just can't seem to figure out an idea to get it made, and also the fact that nobody's really clamoring for another Kelvinverse movie. That's what killed Star Trek Beyond. Actually, what killed Star Trek Beyond was Star Trek Into Darkness, because you lied to us. Once you lie to your audience, and that's it, they can't trust another word you say on a given subject. So, you can mislead your audience, you can misdirect them, but never openly lie to them. Because there's a little trust there. You're here to deliver. You didn't deliver. You lied. You told us this wasn't going to happen, and it happened. And at that point, no, the Star Trek 4 is dead because if it's JJ's connected, no, I understand. It's going to be another, it'd be another case of Star Trek Nemesis. The movie's not even going to open. It'll get on the screens and just nobody shows up. It'll get beaten up by a cartoon. So that's really the tainting of Star Trek 4 right now. It's not the fact that Anton Yelchin has died. Because again, you stick another navigator in there. All right? You show off your CGI skills, you put in Lieutenant Eric's. Okay? But the whole thing, no, we can't. Then you don't, okay? But that, it's just silly. Oh, we can't do that. The fuck you can. They did 2 years of the series without Chekhov at all. Well, first year without Chekhov at all. All right, let's get on to here. Let's torture Chief O'Brien again. I mean, maybe it's the fact that being Irish, he has a way of playing Preston. Not few peoples have been pissed on as much as the Irish. Okay. Let's see. For some reason, who's this one? That's a Chad Porto here. For some reason, Miles O'Brien is constantly getting the most traumatic stories thrust upon him. He's been forced to live a lifetime in a matter of hours. It's been turned 100 across these. has been hunted across the space station by his friend, was infected by a bioweapon, kidnapped, tortured, forced to watch a duplicate of himself die, possessed, framed for a crime he didn't commit, lost his daughter to a time anomaly while himself, that should be he, was thrust through time and died, but came back. The man's been through enough. That's okay. It's okay to write a story where he and his wife are living a quiet life in nature with a bunch of small dogs, as if they debate if they should go to the town that night. As they debate if they should go to town that night for dinner or stay home and cuddle by the fire. We don't need to keep giving this man trauma. Yet some among us still want to torment this man. Despite not being in a new Star Trek episode for over 25 years, O'Brien is still being forced to suffer. While he played a starring role on Star Trek Deep Space Nine, his usual gimmick was that of the most tortured crew member. Sure, some others went through traumatic moments, and some may even be able to trade stories with O'Brien, but yet it's pretty well regarded that no one suffered like the Irishman. That should be A.N. That's talking about him, not Irish in general. So much so that there was a running gag where O'Brien must suffer in any episode that featured him. It's made for some funny tongue-in-cheek jokes. Chad proofread. But ultimately, it just made the character super depressing. You'd think now that the show is over, some decades have passed, and new writers have entered the fray that people would leave O'Brien alone finally. Nope. The Star Trek comics by IDW are going out of the way to give this man even more trauma. From being baselessly called a war criminal to now having to live through an accidental execution, O'Brien continues to suffer, and needlessly to boot. You read that right. O'Brien is now on the hook for killing a person by accident. In Star Trek Defiant issue number 20, we find out that O'Brien and a Cardassian soldier were fighting in the battle of, during the battle of Setlik 3. During the struggle, O'Brien got his hands on his phaser and, assuming it was set to stun, shot the Cardassian in the head. Wasn't on stun, and instead of knocking out his foe, he sliced the hole through the alien's forehead, making it dang sure that once again O'Brien must suffer. The desire to put O'Brien in these at times absurd moments of emotional anguish is a bit tired. Yes, we all had a laugh at the joke that O'Brien just seems cursed, but can't we do something against type? It's so cliche to tell a story that subverts expectation, but it's still okay to give the characters something new to do, especially when they're not hamstrung by the endless limitations of television or film. Maybe just for once, O'Brien can heal. Now, that'd be a story that would be worth telling. Okay. All right, I'm going to give these guys a little bit of slack here, because I think what they're basically telling is the little tale that O'Brien himself told in Next Gen, where we first meet the Cardassians. And basically, it's the way it went. He's at the intent forward, and the Cardassian is just kind of is a glint, I think. Kind of little thing. Why do you hate us so much? And he talks about what happened on Setlik 3, where they, come to a family that I think the family huddled in the rug, and a Cardassian comes upon him, and I don't know, something happened to his own face. The kid tossed him one of their, phasers, theirs, and you kind of found after he pulled the trigger, it was set to kill. And he'd never killed anything in his life. He didn't even swat. He felt bad about swatting a fly. And that's where he gets the thing. I don't hate you, Cardassian. I hate what it became because of you. And that was, So it's not really new trauma. It's retelling old trauma. It's just actually dramatizing that one. So I'll give the IDW folks a little bit of a break here, because that's just relating. No, we heard this story. Now we're just seeing it. So where are we? Let's get out of that. So let's move on to the next one here. Let's see what we got here. One thing about the Klingons. And this when they walk back a major change to the franchise. Okay. Star Trek Discovery it's a diverse show. Even if you enjoy it, you can't deny that it changed parts of canon forever. No, it didn't. Canon is up and changed. So you either comply or you don't. And for no real reason, from the uniforms to the types of engines it uses to the most egregious of all, the Klingons. It was a show that really went out of its way to make sure fans knew that the old era of Star Trek wasn't enough. That thing you loved, it was broken apparently. So Discovery fixed it, or so they tried. The thing though is that nothing the show did to improve or fix or in otherwise change what we understood Star Trek to be made things better. Let's try that again. It wasn't, or so the thing. They need a comma or two there, Chad. Come on, okay. The thing though is that nothing the show did to improve, fix, or in otherwise change what we understood Star Trek to be made things better. Yeah, a few commas there would make things a lot easier to flow here. It felt like a lot of pandering to non-Star Trek fans in hope of expanding the franchise. Expanding the franchise is a good thing, as new fans must come on board to keep the ship sailing, yet exposing new fans to things that they're decidedly not Star Trek doesn't help anyone. The changes didn't bring that many new fans in, but sure turned a lot of old fans off. And again, this is going. Where do these idiots think new fans come from? Old fans bring them in. And when you put out a product that pisses off the old fans, they're not going to bring in new fans. And the new people weren't fans in the first place, so why should they show up? I mean, what kind of mindset? Star Trek fans hate the new Star Trek? I got to check this out. Wrong. Doing more like, well, if the old fans hate it, I'm not going to bother. It would take Strange New Worlds, Prodigy, and a strong third season of Picard to really change the course of the franchise perception from what it was with Discovery to what it is now. That meant undoing some of the more egregious changes Discovery made, namely the Klingons. All right. Prodigy, for the most part, tends to ignore what's going on in Kurtzman land. The advantage of being on the Delta Quadrant for a large part of it, but I don't think they didn't mention Lower Decks. They also have never shown a Discovery type Klingon. It's always been straight up ridges, hair, couple of whole thing. It's always been straight Klingons. Even the recent episode was all on Kronos, and really delved deep in the Klingon lore. But it's like nobody liked those Klingons. And that's why I said Discovery blew the deal in the opening 5 minutes. With that, For some reason, Discovery tried to take an axe to the decades of canon and enjoyment that fans have had with the beloved alien race, and I think all they did was break their axe. They changed everything they could about them: their look, their culture, their hierarchy, their entire image. They didn't have the same swashbuckling pirate life for me atmosphere that millions of fans fell in love with during the Rick Berman era of Star Trek. Instead, they were seen as more ethereal in a way, almost like the villains out of the 2020 Doom sequel, Eternal. What they were they openly said this. Oh, this is going to be our version of Trump supporters. Way to broaden your base. Piss off half the audience. While those who performed on camera did a great job, the overall decision was the issue at hand. The actors and actresses did a wonderful job, talking with marbles in their face, but the material they were given wasn't up to par with what fans expected. So when outlets started making statements like Inverse recently did, where they argue there isn't much difference between the hated Discovery era Klingons and the beloved TNG era, we have to beg to differ. Not only are they dramatically different, but they're so refined. I think the word is reviled. VILU, that the Discovery Klingons weren't even just changed, but were deliberately forgotten about. So far, there have been no real mention about that era of Klingons or why they changed so dramatically. The argument that Inverse makes that the Klingons can be whatever they want at this point is a fallacy. If that were the case, we'd see more different-looking versions of the aliens. Instead, the powers that be realize how badly they stepped in it and returned the Klingons to their prior glory. I think part of it was getting rid of Moonfez, so no longer say, do what you want. No, you're not doing what you want. It's reading this in, assholes. Admitting they were wrong by doing so. If anything, the change back to the classic era of Klingons proves that Klingons weren't some wider range of unique and varied aliens. Instead, the Klingons are what they have always been, and that is in fact a very good thing. Now they could have salvaged this during Discovery, when they had the little holographic confab of all the different great houses. If they had shown One of them standard TNG style, one of them original series style. Okay, that would have covered it. You'd made allowances. Yes, these are not the Klingons. These are a sect, off branch of Klingons. But no, they would have made all Klingorks. Everyone is like this. We're breaking your canon because that doesn't work that way. Like I said, it goes in the thing of like canon is set and has been since 2005 with the last episode of Enterprise. And actually, that last episode is debatable, but at least they got the wiggle room. It was just a bad holodeck program. That's not really what happened. But you can do it within the context of the show. So again, it's like even Deanna, did they write this right? It's, even then you got an out there. But anything, again, canon is set by the creator or those the creator has appointed in his stead. So that means Roddenberry, Rick Berman, and whoever worked for Rick Berman. They're the ones authorized to change canon or add to it, really. Kurtzman does not have that pedigree. Virtually nobody under his stead has that pedigree. The first one to come along with that pedigree would be Terry Matalas, because he worked on DS9 and Voyager and Enterprise. So he knew what he was doing. That's why season 3 of Picard is considered the first real Star Trek we've had since 2005. So, and even then, they hamstrung him with a few things. No, you got to have this, and Picard's got to be in a robot because he wanted to undo the whole damn thing. And some of that did, probably better off not going that route. But it's like, with the stuff he was stuck with, it's a case of successfully turning chicken shit into chicken salad. Actually managed to turn the robot body of Picard into a plot point. So I'm thinking with my little theory of how Star Trek temporal mechanics works. On the mainline Star Trek timeline, for some reason we don't actually know, Picard had to have his, using the Ira Graves thing, having his essence transferred into a android body. And for personal reasons, here we go. And for personal reasons, he chose to have it as an aged robot body instead of going back to the glory days. Mm-hmm. Probably enough to alarm folks. Oh, you look so much younger, Picard. What happened? Just keep the questions to a minimum and have the aging routine. But it would be a better reason than what we were presented with in season 1 of Picard. So it's like, because it's similar to the Doctor Who thing. There are fixed points in time that cannot be changed. That for whatever reason, big or small, revolve around those points and they cannot be changed. Kirk has to achieve, get command of the Enterprise around this time. So either by Pike being promoted to fleet captain and Kirk moving in, or by Kirk assassinating Pike in the mirror universe and stuff like that. And the further afield you get, like in the JJ verse, the wilder the excuses become.
Mm-hmm.
Pike, for some reason, picks this cadet who's on the verge of being booted out of the academy and names him first officer. Like, that's not how it works, okay? It's in the military. But it had to happen. So, again, that's way over here. The further apart, the wilder the excuses get. It's no longer, you got to be kidding me. And I'm sorry, that. What? This guy, you're high. What the, But Picard, and then following that logic along, Picard started off completely wackadoo. Like, that's not the same guy. But as it goes on and things proceed, eventually things start to coalesce back. It's again, like Spock said, sitting there forever. Time is fluid, like eddies and backwash. But also, eventually following that, we'll call it downhill just for the sake of things. Not that we're going down, but start here, flows down, but it's always going to, if it has to go around a rock, or eventually it's going to find its way to the sea, one way or the other. Although some timelines may just sort of and form a lake somewhere, a little pocket on the side doesn't do anything, but most of it's going to be, and eventually even that's going to overflow and start flowing down. So you picture it as a main river, the Mississippi. That's your main Star Trek timeline. Other timelines are the offshoots, the smaller rivers, but eventually something's going to come back and merge back up and empty into the Gulf. And Star Trek Picard Season 3, I'm seeing it as where they're just about lined up. Most of the crap has been dropped off, and like you got the USS New Jersey, proper Constitution-class starship. Not Discovery Prize, not the Disco Prize, not the JJ Prize, a proper Constitution-class starship. But okay, that just retconned out Discovery and Enterprise. I mean, Discovery and the Strange New World right there. The seeing the NX-01 with the secondary hull at the museum, that takes care of These Are the Voyages. Or at least makes it clear they got it wrong. Riker needs his money back. He got a bad program. That sort of thing. And a lot of stuff that's like they tried to ignore as much as they could with the previous 2 seasons of Picard. And pretty successful. Again, there's a few things they were stuck with, but it's like, no. And the thing is, with the way Picard, they treated every season was a reboot anyway. They treated each one like a new series, like a new show to begin with, so they didn't care. That was one thing how Terry Matalas got away with what he did. They didn't care. There's some things were openly backhanding the first 2 seasons, and nobody gave a shit. No one was paying attention. The network saw it as a dead duck. This last season, get it out of the way. They don't care what you do. Kurtzman and Goldman were busy with their own little, circle jerk programs, or trying to get Academy going to Section 31 or Strange New World. They didn't care what Matalas did.
Oy, oy, oy.
So yeah, the usual long laundry list of executive producers that brings along with Secret. They had nothing to do with the show. They're all part of Kurtzman's little money laundering scam to just suck as much money out of the budget as possible. Because again, a writer only gets paid for that episode. An executive producer gets paid for all of them, whether you did jack shit on it or not. That's the thing. That's why they're touchy about names in the credits. Names in the credits means there's a check. Somewhere there's somebody got paid. But no, you can't. There are very few people left around that could actually really contribute to canon. And they're all getting a little long in the tooth at this point. I mean, anybody from the original series in a capacity has pretty much gone on to that undiscovered country. Burma's not exactly a spring chicken. Ron Moore and Brannon Braga could probably do it. I largely trust David Gerald could be roped into it. I understand Brannon Braga better now than I did back in the day when I called him an Antichrist and got quoted by Details magazine. But
yes, I do remember that.
Yeah, I still got because buddy of mine texted, "Is this you?" Yeah, it is actually. Old AOL post was yes. Brannon Braga is the Antichrist. I have pictures, but the Wayne's World reference there. But I understand where he's coming from more. Okay, it wasn't that he wasn't really, because the whole thing, I hadn't seen all the episodes. He wasn't unknowledgeable. His taste in sci-fi are a little higher brow. Let's face it. Star Trek is entry-level sci-fi for most folks. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
It is the McDonald's of Star Trek. Let's be honest. Okay. It is mass market because he was
never heard it described that way.
Oh, over the year, back in the 70s, it's called. It's entry-level sci-fi for most folks. Hey, there's more, but here's a taste. If you're willing to go for it, here's some other stuff over here. Here's some Asimov and Bradbury. I mean, Braga showed a little. He was shooting a little higher, like Twilight Zone and Outer Limits type of thing, which is a little higher brow. It's still network television, but they could shoot a little higher. Partially because they were both from that's what I mean. The accusation has been made that television is made for the brain dead masses. Not always the case. Originally, it was very highbrow stuff. That's why some of the old Sid Caesar, Milton Berle stuff worked so well, because they were shooting at a higher level. Because TVs were expensive. You had to have a real good job and be pretty, kind of high up in the status to afford a television. So they were shooting for that audience. They were shooting for the theater goers, the people who knew stuff about things.
So
they would be a little more thoughtful, and they would tackle some subjects here and there. It was when TVs got cheaper and the great unwashed were able to watch it. That's when they started reeling things back a bit. Even with the Lieutenant, they could still take on a few things, but it was starting to dial back. If anything, Gene was a little ahead of his time at the show, but he was also a little behind the times. Like a few years earlier, everything would have run completely unchanged.
Okay.
Even the episode to set it right would have been, great. We want to push this.
Question here.
What?
I've been watching that Apple Plus TV series Foundation.
Mm-hmm.
Do you consider that a little bit higher brow?
Well, it's Asimov, okay?
Yeah.
It's Isaac Asimov. That's the trilogy he was best. His landmark thing, the Foundation trilogy. I'm not sure how he would have gone with because I said I could pull up with him talking to Roddenberry about the difference between science fiction literature and science fiction movies and TV, because a science fiction novel that sells 250,000 copies, it's considered viable. It's about a science fiction movie has to hit a much wider audience. It has to sell several million. So you can't go as highbrow necessarily, and get that same bang. So you tend to get a little dumber. You don't go into the nature of reality so much. You get like, oh, pew pew, bang bang here. With the old line, "Tremble not, naked princess, I shall protect you."
So it's still a lot more highbrow than Star Trek.
It's up there, but I think also back to streaming, they figure they can also shoot a little higher. But also, if they were to dumb down an Asimov story, they would never hear the end of it. I think Asimov did do a plain old space opera once somewhere, I think, but it probably do stuff with that. But
so
the Foundation ain't it. Yeah.
So in other words, having his kid on the executive producing team is kind of a way to keep him honest.
Pretty much, yeah. It's like this what? No, that's not what Dad said. That's everything. No. Because one thing that, like with the Lord of the Rings movies, nobody really needed any kind of canon expert to keep them in line, because not only was Peter Jackson huge Tolkien fan, but also Christopher Lee, Ian McKellen. They were Tolkien.
Oh man!
I mean, he started doing stuff, and even McKellen. Oh, that's not what Tolkien said.
Okay, honey.
Mm-hmm.
I gotta say this before I, start laughing my ass off. But every time you mention Christopher Lee, now I think
of Attack of the Clones.
Yeah, that one bit when they were.
Yeah, there's a thing. They're setting up this fight between Dooku and Yoda. And they have the life-size maquette of Yoda, in order to establish the eye line. But you want to look down about there. Well, someone got cute and put these big old paper cutout fangs on Yoda. Again, playing on the Hammer film Dracula movies, and everyone's cracking up laughing. Christopher Lee just sort of, oh George, I'm so disappointed in you. I mean, it's not like Christopher. He did the movies in the first damn place. Okay, several of them. He's done a lot of goofy stuff. But the movie Serial, the comedy from the late 70s, early 80s. Martin Mull. Paramount hasn't put it out. I got a bootleg copy of it on DVD. A hilarious film, though. And Christopher Lee plays Martin Mull's boss at Wells Fargo.
Oh, boy.
And at one point, the revelation is that in his private life, he's kind of the leader of a gang of gay bikers.
Oh, good Lord.
And he plays it up to, because part involves Martin Mull trying to kind of rescue his daughter from this group of Hare Krishnas type.
Oh, good Lord.
And here comes Chris with his biker gang. And they're busting the place up. But there's one point where Chris is in the leathers and everything, talking to one of the Krishna guys. And it's kind of, oh, you say you love me, but are you willing to prove it?
Yeah, so
All right.
something else I remember.
Hey, Iron.
I think I recall seeing Christopher Lee in
Little promotion that one.
Airport 77, which was kind of weird.
I didn't see 77, so no.
Yeah.
Yeah, they gotten old bad. 75 was bad it, but you have to. Okay, now you're just trying too hard. But where are we going with this? But it's like canon. It's like, no, canon is set. So they're changing canon. No, they can't change canon. Canon is set. It is fixed. It ain't changing. You're either compliant with canon or you're non-canon. It's as simple as that. Discovery is not compliant with canon.
No
you
way.
You can whack it as much as you want with that. The only thing you can do is break the axe. So it's like you are not of the body. You are rejected. So bye.
And when you start quoting Apollo 13, it's like, no.
Well, that's I think that line probably predates Apollo 13. It's also the bit when Gene Kranz actually said that, but
actually it was Chris Kraft who was
okay. Well,
who was head of NASA at the time.
Yeah, but Gene was a flight director, so it's attributed to him. Of course, he said it in the movie, so it must be true. But I should probably work up animation of the JJ Prize and the Discovery and firing on the Enterprise and boom, big explosions, everything. And they had to blow themselves with the effort. The dust clears, the Enterprise is still there, not even a scratch. We did get that worked up sometime. That'd be a good little statement. But that's why I like that animation that Tobias Richter did up for FedCon several years ago, where they show the JJ Prize and then in comes the original Enterprise, just sort of sailing above it. Hangar deck opens and this thing comes out, the Acme Timeline Restorer, and this big little cartoon with Warner Brothers noises and this big giant disc right in front of the JJ Prize, and he vacuums it up. Timeline restored, Captain.
Yeah. Iron, get your butt in here.
Well, let me get here. Oh yeah, the link's in the group chat. But let's bring up the one last one here. Mainly because Shatner's experience in trying to deep fry a turkey. Let's see if he did a video. It's that time of year here in the United States. It's nearly time for Thanksgiving, and Shatner did put out a tweet. They already celebrate in Canada. So I guess he went up for family up there, and now he's doing it again. So any excuse for a second Thanksgiving dinner. Here in the United States, it's nearly time for Thanksgiving. It's time to give thanks, share emotions, and get a well-deserved day away from the rigors of everyday life. It's also a chance to have some really good food. The typical holiday affair is a turkey, though. What do we got? Let me get over here. Okay.
Hello.
Hello. Let's get back on.
Hey.
Okay. Okay, some do ham, some do lasagna, others do turkey. It's a great piece of meat and so many good things, but sometimes just cooking a turkey is enough. Sometimes people just want to deep fry it. Dangerous endeavor, that's for sure. Hot oil and open fire can create one awful situation, especially if you put a frozen turkey into that mixture. The oil and fire alone will cause a fire should the two meet, but when you throw it in said meat, you're not just getting a meeting of the minds, but a potentially meat-filled turkey torpedo. That's why it's important to practice proper techniques if you intend on sharing a deep-fried bird this holiday season. Who better to help us learn that lesson than Star Trek's own William Shatner? Yeah, I think this might have been. Let's go ahead and get that.
Hi, I'm William Shatner, and I love fried turkey. So join my Friars Club. But turkey and oil are a dangerous combination. So watch this video. I want your comments on it. I want to know how you plan to keep yourself, your family, and me safe from turkey fryer fires.
This you did a few years ago.
I once loved this piece of metal, but our relationship ended suddenly. It started as a hunger. I want a moister, tastier turkey. I want a deep fried turkey. Back then, everyone was doing it. Turkey fryers flew off the shelves left and right. When I laid my hands on that fryer, I didn't want to let go. Hot. Thermometer. Dingle dangle? Okay. Hot oil. Wet frozen turkey. Pushed together makes steam. Pushing the hot oil over the top and igniting on the open flame. Don't do that. I learned a great deal. But I was young and arrogant.
He wasn't that young.
Blinded by my hunger, I ignored safety. Spat in the face of science. Turn off the flame. Damn it, Bill, that's too much oil. Where's the dingle dangle?
Oh, yeah.
What have I done? Oh, ow, 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 ow. Oh, look at this. Oh, that is so stupid. I loved you. But you only brought me pain. That fryer took so much from me. Mostly arm hair, little skin. But it gave me a healthy fear. Fire, metal, oil, and turkey are glorious when in harmony.
Turkey fryer. I always wanted to try that.
But their
Oh.
power is
The
unrelenting
cycle
in
continues.
careless hands.
And it even has the dingle dangle.
Okay.
That's very.
Hi, I'm William Shatner.
Okay, let's get on that. Okay.
Oy.
Yeah, if you do insist on doing a deep fried turkey, the main thing is don't do it frozen. That is a surefire way to have an explosion. Because anybody's worked a fryer at McDonald's, the fries go. You put them in, it goes nuts. You imagine an entire turkey. It's got to be completely thawed out for that to work.
I still gotta wonder if
And actually, what
son-in-law has any tales about that.
Well, I don't know if anybody was around when because what actually happened was actually a bit more dramatic. Because the way to say he did it out by the pool, so there was some thought, some safety concerns. They did out, they set it up by the pool, so if something happened, they could down. Well, the turkey wasn't completely thawed out. So, and it goes, and he said, like, the flames was like shot like 20 feet up.
Oh shit!
Over the house. It was just. He told us on the Tonight Show before the video, before we put up the video. But we're talking about wham! It's like wow! It's like So like the fact that it was by the pool is probably what saved his ass for anything else. But that was like no, okay. He likes this kind of thing. He's got a meat smoker that he loves. Okay, smoking meat. A little safer that way. Okay, nothing's gonna blow up with a meat smoker. I've never actually done fried turkey before.
Actually sounds pretty good.
The usual thing is brining it, so you get all the stuff soaked in, but
this year we're not.
We're not even doing that much. It's too chaotic right now. Like we got a big old turkey breast, and I need to get a couple of turkey legs.
You and your turkey legs.
Hey, gotta have a drumstick. Okay.
And besides, I don't think we could get them right now.
I can go to Walmart and get some.
This late in the month?
I
doubt it.
I think the turkey leg would be fine. There shouldn't be any problem. Usually have plenty of them. If not, oh well.
I can't even find frickin' cranberry online.
Mm-hmm. You and your cranberries, yeah. I never had a taste for cranberries anyway. But that covers the Star Trek news for today.
Do you guys see that one short film that came out?
Unification thing? Yeah. Actually, few people have done little master cuts where they take all the previous ones and mash them together. The remarkable thing is they brought back Gary Lockwood.
Oh, really?
To do the thing. Yeah, heavy de-aging, but because he's in his 80s, but it's like they managed to do a lot. But man, they just for the eyes and also hey, you want to play Gary Mitchell again? And getting that mindset and make sure the eye roll just right,
Yeah, Gary Lockwood is one of the reasons we have 2 copies of 2001.
Because one of them's autographed by him. Yeah, there is the 2001 convention actually.
Yeah.
I couldn't make it because I was working, so I sent Steph on her own. She got and Keir DeLay and Gary Lockwood are both there, and they had a big monolith set up there for photos. I don't know how accurate the measurements were, but imagine somebody out there with
They were.
Hey, this is off. This is too thick. But I made a point of when we got the Blu-ray player. I made a point of getting that on Blu-ray. But no, the guy they got to play Spock looks a lot like Leonard Nimoy, so there wasn't a whole lot of work to be done on that front. I understand he sounds nothing like Nimoy. That's one of the reasons why there's no dialogue. Although if they really wanted to push it, apparently the guy who does Spock in Star Trek Online sounds a lot like Spock. So they could.
Oh yeah, I played Star Trek Online, so I can attest to that.
So they could do okay, just read it. We got someone else to dub it for you. They have him dub the lines, and there we go. I don't know how much Sam Witwer would want to keep doing Bill Shatner's motion capture, but okay. Apparently Shatner was in on the thing, not just executive. They actually did some performance with him. But have Sam Witwer doing all the walking and stuff. He actually doesn't look that much different than Shatner. So again, not much tweaking involved. But that was also the case. how canon would that one be? Was it, well, it's in conjunction with Roddenberry Productions, so Rod was a part of it, and and Paramount signed off on it. At least they signed the license off on it. But it's another case of you're compliant with canon or you're not. And in this case, including that character Yor that showed up in Discovery in the Next Gen uniform, and originally had the wrong comm badge on it, but they fixed that in post. He covers all because he established he hopped universes. So well, he hopped more than one universe. Okay, so there, so that covers everything. Because there's a few snippets in some of the earlier films where we have Human Colt in a Kelvinverse uniform. So you just sort of bounce on all place. So this covers everything right there.
Ow.
And they included a bit, recreated. It was not stock. They recreated the stuff from Picard at Daystrom Station, showing that Kirk is on ice. He's not quite dead yet. And again, with no dialogue, that also opened up a wall. What is really going on here? Is Kirk going on from the Elysian Fields and escorting Spock on his way? Or is Kirk now back?
Yeah, it creates so many questions.
Yeah, that's exactly. It's wide open, but and to see what Kirk and then I was, it's Spock on New Vulcan. Not necessarily. Vulcan was destroyed in the Kelvinverse. It wasn't destroyed in the mainline universe. For the canon timeline, okay? And in the canon timeline, Vulcan is alive and well. Going about its no moon existence.
Oy.
And Spock is at home on Vulcan, dying, and also the way they did that thing where Kirk by his side, they really did to evoke the scene in sickbay in the motion picture when Spock's on the bed and Kirk's So, like I said, it's like is this where they actually bring back Kirk for real? And again, I'm one of these days, as long as nobody else dies along the way, I can finally get Legacy, because the studio wants to do Legacy. The cast all want to do Legacy. Metalis and his bunch want to do Legacy. The one thing standing in the way is Alex Kurtzman. He doesn't want to do Legacy because fans actually liked it, and they don't like his stuff. And he's going to force the stuff on us whether we like it or not. He wants to make his stamp on the world. So we're gonna get a Section 31 movie, which was gonna be a series, but they cut these off of that one. No, you get a movie and that's it. They'll take what you give them and you don't like it, Alex. Okay. But that one looks like a shit show. It's like, huh? And they're gonna push through on Academy as best they can before Skydance takes over. Nobody wanted Academy. Nobody asked for it. The idea has been shot down repeatedly over the past 40 fucking years.
Yeah, didn't Harv Bennett want to do an Academy?
He wanted to do one, and he wanted to do a thing. Oh, did them all back in the Academy. Roddenberry said these people weren't at the Academy at the same time. That's not how it worked. It's arguable whether McCoy even went to the Academy. He's a doctor, not a. I think he's signed up with Starfleet to get away from a bad divorce. Okay.
Yeah,
that was part of the back. That's part of the backstory.
Yeah, if anything, the only thing that they got right in JJ Trek was casting Carl Urban as McCoy.
But even then, they mucked up that thing. Oh, got me my bones. That's not where the name comes from. Bones is short for sawbones. West term for doctors. fact, even in a piece of the action, it's kind of a blink you miss it type thing where Kirk and Spock get back from Nab and Krakow, and he walks in with a gun and grabs Ox Mix by the Jim. Not now, Sawbones. I gotta talk with this creep. Now I don't know what the hell it's like. No. I don't know how obscure is the term Sawbones anymore. I mean, it's an old West term, but
I even knew what that is.
Yeah, exactly. It's not completely obscure. I mean, Hank Williams Jr. Family traditions. Said when that doctor asked me, that hey Sawbones, I'm just leave me alone. I don't know. So it's like you're fixing what isn't broken. What the hell are you doing? But yeah, it's like that kind of goes to why we're not going to see a Star Trek 4 anytime soon. Certainly not from the Kelvinverse. Because you burned too many bridges just making it in the first place. You start doing stuff that was stupid. And everyone's fixing, we don't have, we don't have Anton. It's like, was Anton the lethal? What was Anton getting paid as much as Chris Pine? Or is that Quinto? They're the stars of your movies, supposedly.
Yeah, every so often I hear rumors about it, stuff like, it keeps getting pushed back. It's going to come out here, but nope, it doesn't.
It's like, I think they're just proposing this stuff to keep the contract going.
Yeah.
Never going to make another damn movie. Just keep getting that development money running. At some point, something's going to expire. No, you're out. We're done. You screwed up our franchise long enough. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's gotten to the point where it is just, it is just a TV show now at this point. It is just a set of movies. Nobody's being inspired by this shit. Okay. You can go to NASA, all number of people who were inspired to get into space and start. Okay. All right. Thanks for the verse reading, but okay. We're nowhere near Easter. Okay.
Oy.
Combination of John 3:16 and some other verses. Okay, fine. Yeah.
Oy vey.
Generally try to avoid religious topics in this thread. Thank you very much. But yeah, nobody's asking for Star Trek. In fact, again, Roddenberry shot down the first book. No, these people weren't at the Academy in the first place at the same time. And again, McCoy most likely went through an officer candidate school. Because again, the medical doctor, so that's an advanced degree right there.
I mean, if I wanted Academy, I'll dig out the Super Nintendo game and play the PC game.
Yeah, I got the PC game, but it's also like one of Roddenberry's big thing, because that's originally got him back into doing Next Generation, because the idea was the Enterprise is going to be crewed by cadets, with a few wise sage officers around, but it's going to be all cadets getting into trouble. And it's like, no, you don't do that with cadets.
Flagship of the fleet.
I don't know, but it's idiotic. Again, that's what got Roddenberry out of retirement, because it was so idiotic. But it's the thing about about cadets. Cadets are students. They're back at the Academy. They're learning. You have experienced officers out there getting into trouble. You don't send cadets.
And like I said, why would you let them be on the flagship of the entire fleet? It makes no sense.
No,
it's dumb.
Yeah.
It's even pushing credibility, even with Strange New Worlds and started with Cadet Uhura. No, that's not how it works. These people have no clue how the military operates. That's right. The most military experience most of these guys ever had was playing Call of Duty. Okay. Maybe, Whereas the original series, it was veterans all through that from Roddenberry on down. Okay, Roddenberry flew B-17 bombers, in the Pacific.
Yeah,
Matt
a ton
Jeffries,
of them were vets.
Yeah, Matt Jeffries was a flight engineer on B-17s in the Pacific, and then in Europe. Bob Justman was in the Navy. Gene Kuhn was in the Marines. Even D. Kelly and Leonard Nimoy were in the Army at one point, and hell, Jimmy Doolin was a hero on D-Day. How he lost a finger. He was a friendly fire, oddly enough. The Germans never laid a finger on him. It was a fellow Canadian that shot him.
Yeah.
That was a case of that was a case of the metal cigarette case in his pocket saved his ass because he took a shot there.
I remember the story about that finger because
it was
about it in his book.
It was it was given the option. We can it'll be paralyzed in this position, or you can lose it. Didn't want to go through life flipping people off. Trace Adkins has something similar, but his finger, they have it permanently curled on one hand, so at least he can still play the guitar. But in one of his hands, like those one finger stays, thing. So techniques have improved a bit since the 40s. But it's like nobody they did not have the need for a military advisor on that show. Everybody knew what it was like to be in the military, what you can do, what you can't do, what you can say to the captain, and what you do not say to the captain. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Balance of Terror is a good example here. It's like, on the bridge, it's like Styles just makes kind of under your head of the Spock. What was that, Mr. Styles? That may be Mr. Spock. I assume you're crediting Mr. Spock on his cryptographic skills. I don't know, sir. Well, let me make this clear, mister. Keep any bigotries you have in your quarters. There's no room for them on the bridge. Yes, sir. It wasn't until the briefing room when I said, no, speak freely. Go on, let's have it. And even then, the style he said was still very much, I could see this guy being the commander, because the way he addressed it, even wanting to reach across the table and strangle Spock on behalf of his ancestors. It was still very much, usually the expert is people. I want to know why. He was still very much, in that. Let's not push it too hard. But push to the edge. It's like, Kirk, sit down, mister. And that's probably as close as you got to anything, open insubordination on that thing with Styles. And even then, still barely within the range, but still within the range. Okay. I should look up to what kind of, but I think this was only like 20 years after World War II. About 10 years after Korea. So you had a lot of people, behind the scenes, I think Shatner was just because he had a family, he was in the theaters, but even then, you're around everybody. So it rubs off, And I mentioned, look up the director and some of the directors who was directing that episode, But back then, it's like, you don't, it's the military, because the whole thing with JJ's thing, they didn't really make the Enterprise into a hot rod. No, it's a military vessel, asshole. What the hell are you doing? That's any design that looks like it came out of the 60s. That's the JJ prize. All the swoopy lines and everything. That looks like a fucking 60s nightmare.
It makes me think of what Tuvok said when they were designing the Delta Flyer. He's just like, this is not a hot rod.
Oh, yeah. And Tom wanted to put tail fins.
Yep.
It looks cool. It's enough.
It's not practical.
Yeah, there was
practical.
There was one time when, when I was talking to Bob about the first JJ Trek movie, and I mentioned that the nacelles look kind of like a pair of big boobs.
Oh, and even that apple in themselves. You're gonna make sexual jokes about the Enterprise. I don't think. Not even Scott. No. People have no fucking clue what they're doing, and they're in charge of the franchise. But yeah, pull this one up. This design is nothing 60s about. This looks like it came from the 1940s, military thing. Okay. The lettering was not mod or anything. It was, strictly, block, Amarillo font, Same thing you'd find on a military vessel of the day, Right off Air Force, tail numbers, okay? That's why the inspiration for the register number was.
Yeah, speaking of the Enterprise, aren't they building a new one?
Yes, they are well on the way of building the next one, be CV-80, some.
Sweet.
But, they incorporated in the keel a section of metal from the last one. It's probably a bit of a tradition when you're renaming and reusing a name like thing. But I saw a video of the keel laying ceremony, and there are a few comments about the technical advances. It's going to seem more like the Starship Enterprise in the aircraft here. So they know their connection here. The old ship they had in one of the mess halls. They had a little display of Star Trek stuff. Okay. And I'm sure it's going to be put right back up once they get far enough into the ship. Okay, let's get that back. It's where it's sitting in storage right now.
Oh, if I recall, Fred Hayes was one of the crew on that test flight of the Enterprise.
Yeah, it was in the test drop. The test flight. The glider test. And again, don't believe it was always a test. No, it was not always a test vehicle. She was intended to go into orbit at some point. I've got a book somewhere put out by NASA where they're talking about the kind of the ultimate irony of being in space on the Enterprise watching Star Trek on one of the viewers. Being able to watch Star Trek on the Enterprise. They were talking about it. They were joking about it in official NASA publications. But what happened there is the eternal life of budget cuts. Because Enterprise was built with the idea of a much larger launch vehicle. A little more oomph behind her. So be able to get up there with a decent payload. As it was, by the time she was doing the test, they'd cut the budget of what they could do with the launch vehicle to put it up there. And pretty soon, Enterprise was too heavy. If she were to go up, it would be just the crew. There would not be the extra oomph to get up there with a payload. Columbia this is a case of how refits work. Columbia had to be refit in construction to lighten her up, and she was the heaviest one of the fleet still. But she could just get up there with a decent payload. And Challenger was the first one to be built under the new specifications of a lighter vehicle. So there, and again, none of this had anything to do with, as far as the shuttle design of what happened to Challenger and Columbia. That was a case of the launch vehicle thing, and that probably did have the budget cuts thing where they didn't have enough O-rings, it wasn't secured enough, and then you got the blowout. So they wonder why are we entering my 3 cents? Well, the Challenger just blew up over Florida. So.
Yeah, just to let you know, Iron, I was watching an episode of My 3 Sons at my aunt's house in Phoenix when it happened.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
So I see them, cut to footage of Kate Kennedy, and I was like, "What the hell is going on?"
Yeah. And also, I think some of how most of the playback of always, you see the thing going up and you're hearing Mission Control talking about, and the thing, obviously a major malfunction has happened. Like, keep in mind, Mission Control is in Houston. Launch Control is in Florida. Once that thing clears the pad, Houston takes over. And they're not necessarily seeing what's going on. They're watching telemetry. They're not necessarily seeing the cameras and what's going on. That's the new stuff. But so they're seeing, obviously, suddenly something goes dead. Okay, obviously a major malfunction happened. They don't know the thing just blew up. And people in the stands at Canaveral are screaming their eyes out. It's like, oh my God! They're watching the debris fall.
Yeah, I remember my reaction when I finally figured out what was going on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I got a threat to wash my mouth out with soap from my grandmother.
Yeah, until point out, hey, the shuttle just blew up.
I was like, holy shit!
Yeah. Well, it's not like Tampa is that far from Canaveral either. I'm sure you may even heard it.
Well, actually, I was in Phoenix at the time when it happened.
Okay then. Well, that changes things.
And I was watching the aforementioned My Three Sons
which kind of shows you just how far the space program had fallen by then. It's like not even covering a launch. But usually anything else, like with Apollo 13, it's like they didn't even cover the live broadcast from the cap. Nobody covered it. Nobody saw it except the people at Mission Control.
Oh. Yeah, they still call that one a successful failure.
Well, because everyone got back and they showed how much they can improvise if something went weird.
Mm.
But I think it's also they definitely covered the next launch.
Yeah.
I remember seeing some I don't know if it was talking to Alan Shepard or somebody, but after when they would you go up on the next one? Oh yeah, sure. The next one will be the safest one yet because they'll fix everything. They ain't going up until they get this thing fixed right.
One thing I will say though about Apollo 13 is that last scene with Gene Kranz and Mission Control, that actually happened.
Well, what it was, maybe not inspired. It was inspired really because Ed Harris was watching an interview with Kranz as part of the research getting written, and he's talking, and Kranz is talking about what and just the emotional relief. Like, oh God, and there we go. That's the moment. That's what he wanted to play. Yeah. And he based it on that. Yeah. Okay, what do we get?
Oh, princess!
Mm-hmm.
She wanted to say hello.
Mm-hmm.
Aw.
I don't know. She doesn't look like she's. It's like, get me out of here.
Yeah, that's what she's thinking.
Yeah.
She's just like, why are you holding me up on camera?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The other people are not worthy to see me.
Yeah.
She's also begging for food right now. So.
Of course, it's part of the cat's job. All right. Let's see. I think we're gonna wrap it up in a minute here. Let's see. In other news, that last video has gotten 71 views so far.
Oy.
And again, it's part of planting seeds. Part in the process, like, you don't want to do this, Indy. You're not, this is what you're enabling by being a part of this. Get out. The tide is turning. Wake the fuck up.
I watched a huge chunk of that video yesterday.
Yeah. So we'll see what happens on that front. But before we go down that rabbit hole, we're going to go and wrap it up here. So I don't know if anything's going to be happening later. We never know. The day is young. Okay.